Are we recording? Okay, we are. Right. Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Mtulisi Nasio Kumbula and I'm going to be walking you guys through the Swan Journal, which is a playlist which I started a few weeks back, but today we're going to go through it together. So what is the Swan Journal? Essentially, the Swan Journal is a real-time documentary of Swan World, which is a business which I started with one of my friends some years back. And so in this video, I just want to walk you guys through what the Swan Journal is, why we started it, and then actually start to document it, because the first video I did last time was, sort of like a trailer. But today I really want to actually start walking through the purpose of why I started this playlist. So if you see me looking down, it's because I got my notebook here. I've just got a few points which I really want to address, so just pardon me for that. So first of all, why did I start it? Okay, why is because I just wanted to share the journey. First of all, I feel like when we were working on the business together, doing what we do, it's a fashion business, so you can imagine what that entails: production, marketing, creating the brand. And there's also a lot of like logistical stuff or operations, which has nothing to do with the fabrics themselves, but like how are you pricing your product, how are you establishing costs, etc., etc. All of these things go into the picture. So we were doing it for quite some time, and I felt like I really just wanted to speak to someone about it, or just to share my passion for the business. And so I don't know if it says something that the only person I can speak to is my phone, but hopefully there's a lot of people behind the screen who will watch this either now or in due course sometime in the future. So the first reason was really just to share that experience. So the next reason is to share the challenges, the opportunities, and what it's like to actually start a business. There may be some people who always think to themselves, how can I start a business? Or if I was to start a business, what would be some of the challenges? What are the opportunities? Just everything surrounding starting your own business. I'm no professional. What's connected? I'm no professional, but I see myself more as an enthusiast, someone who's just passionate about business, someone who has been doing it. I just want to share how I've been approaching it, and maybe from there or from the things I've shared, you, the viewer, can gain one or two insights that I hope you find useful and can apply to your own business one day. So that's the main two reasons: to share my experience, and then to actually just inform people who want to start their own businesses. And then the final reason why I also started these is because, we always see the businesses when they're big. And of course, people can be interviewed and then they say, oh yeah, in 1985, we started the business. But, we don't have any footage of them. We can't see them. What did they think at that point in time? It's very few people or cases where we actually could see the person's process at that point in time. So my goal with these videos is to show you guys what I'm thinking right now, so that when Swan is now big, not if, but when the business is actually now big, people can look back and see, okay, what were these guys thinking in their first year, their second year, their third year? Because I think maybe that is more valuable or insightful than when you actually established and now you can speak about it from a point of, I don't know, it just sounds different when someone's done it and now they talk about it. But when someone is actually doing it, they can share some real-time insights with the viewers. So that's the other reason. But without further ado, now I actually want to get into some of the things which I've been reflecting on this week regarding the business, which I want to share with you guys. So let's get started. So there are 4 points which I want to discuss with you guys today. The first being geography. So before I actually get into the point of geography, I always hate to do this because I feel like I go on so many tangents whilst I'm talking, but it is what it is. you know, one of the key reasons I started making videos is because I didn't see anyone from from Zimbabwe, or from Africa making these types of videos, but from, let's say, predominantly America, because that's where, like, YouTube and all these companies are based. You see a lot of people from there doing this stuff. And so I think having someone you can relate to, someone who looks like you, who has a similar name to you, that stuff is different. And I think this is what we need to do. So on the point of geography, I feel like it adds a different perspective to the purpose of my videos, because I'm at university, or I'm a Zimbabwean who's outside, I'm living in the diaspora. So people back home or people around the world can actually look at this and say, okay, this is a Zimbabwean guy doing this, I can also do that. Or somehow we can create a network and we can help each other in so many different ways. So I think it's good for representation, that's the word, to actually see people who look like you, who are from where you're from, doing things that you might want to do, and then they show you how to do that. And then that way, if we continuously share this stuff, we can all improve together. So anyways, getting started with geography. So I'm here at university in Mauritius. I'm in my second year, and I left home beginning of 2021, right? And remember I said I've got a partner who I'm working with in this business. He's in South Africa, but obviously we're both from Zimbabwe, which is where we initially set up the business. So a lot of the production happens in Zimbabwe. So now what that looks like is one person is in Mauritius, one person is in South Africa, one person is in Zim. And that's the whole team, 3 people. Now, how do you actually manage the business when you guys are all in different parts of, not the world, but we're all in different locations? So that's the first challenge that we've had to deal with as a business. And the time, what do you call it? The time difference is it's not that big. It's 2 hours, but it can sometimes be a bit hard to balance that, because we're both students. So you might be free after 8 o'clock, but for now, that's now 10 p.m. How do you guys manage that? So obviously there's solutions to everything, and we have found a way to work around it. But with the geography, it does pose different challenges, but also poses some opportunities. So for example, if we're looking at geography, there's currency issues. If we sell in a country like, for example, South Africa, the rand may be more stable than the Zim dollar. We may be able to convert the rand much easier to another currency. But at the same time, with the geography, we then have issues with production and logistics. If you make up the same product in 3 different locations, you're probably going to have 3 different looking products. So, these are some of the challenges that come about, and these are some of the challenges which we've been facing. So another issue is logistics. How do you move a product from Zimbabwe to Mauritius? It's going to be bloody expensive, but it may be easier to move from Zim to South Africa. So you might need to set up production here in Mauritius and then have production happening in Zimbabwe, or to have production in all 3 countries. So now you have to compare what's cheaper. If we factor in the cost of production, if we factor in the labor cost for the tailors, and then the logistics cost, to get it from Zim across the ocean to Mauritius, it's going to be quite expensive. So you start to have logistics problem. How do you move money around? You may be told by a place like Western Union that, as a student, you can only send money, you can't receive. But there are also some other branches which allow you to send. So how are you going to navigate these different aspects? Then we go on to brand creation. And I hope I'm not going too fast, but I just want you guys to, I'll summarize it all at the end, but right now I'm just going through it as rapidly as I can. The next thing is brand creation. You can position your business, well, particularly in fashion, although it's probably there in a lot of other industries. You can either be mass market, you can be a luxury business, or you can be, somewhere in the middle. So mass market, we're looking at people like, your Mr. Price, or, Edgar's, that sort of thing, where the price is really accessible to a wide range of people. And then, as we increase our price, we would sort of increase our exclusivity. And then obviously the brands that come to mind is, brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, etc., etc. Now, you don't have to be any of these brands, but it's good to understand which segment of the market you are looking to target from a price perspective, because that will have a direct implication on your brand. It's very hard to find a cheap brand, not cheap, but an affordable brand which has an exclusive reputation, right? Those who do economics would know that, scarcity increases demand, right? Or if we want to look at it more generally, look at love, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Basically, any form of reduction in something, in its accessibility, is going to increase its demand, right? So there's several factors to think about when you're looking at brand. Another may be quality. Although every business should aim to make a quality product, if you're going to position yourself as a luxury business, or as more niche or upmarket, you better make sure that your quality is good. Now, that goes back to the previous point I spoke about in terms of production and geography. If you guys are in 3 different countries, how do you manage quality? I can't be there to see and touch the product that's being made in Zim. I used to be able to do that when I was in Zim, but now that I'm here, how do we oversee quality? How do you make sure that this size is correct? So who's going to do that for you? And what are the risks that are associated with that? So these are some of the challenges, we've been facing. And so lastly, I just want to go through some of the opportunities. It may seem like I've just been talking about issues, but here are some opportunities that we saw, particularly outside of Zimbabwe. So Mauritius and South Africa, 2 very different countries. If we look at their size, South Africa has a population of about 60 million people, whereas Mauritius has a population of about 1.2. Now, we believe that South Africa definitely has a stronger buying power than both Mauritius and Zimbabwe. So if you were to look at even capturing just 10% of the South African market, even 5% or 1%, I once did the numbers on it. They're not in my mind right now, but if you could sell a product at a minimum of something like $30, convert that to rands, and sell it to 1% of the population. Now you have to ask yourself, how do I get to 1% of the population? That's now a marketing question. So how do you get the marketing? And then you keep on asking questions until you get to that golden answer, right? But that's an opportunity we saw there. Good buying power, large population, which gives us the opportunity to expand there. If we look at Mauritius, for the past 3 months, I've been working at the mall here in Mauritius, part-time during the semester, but full-time during the holiday. And I was working at Gap, but it's owned by one company, which also owns brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Hugo Boss, Fila, and a few other brands. But what I realized, I spent a lot of time asking my manager questions and working with my colleagues and asking them questions, and I came to sort of get a good understanding of the performance of these businesses. And it was shocking to see that with a population of just 1.2 million people, the sort of performance, and see how many people come in day after day after day, it just validated the idea that there's a lot of opportunity here, right? Especially some customers will come in and say, I want a particular product, and you show them, and then they say, no, I want the one with the logo. Now that's a branding issue. So I realized that most sales that were made in the shop were actually made before the customer even walked into the store. That is because of the brand, that logo that's on their chest. So the question my partner and I have been asking ourselves is, how do we get people to want to buy that Swan logo? Because they could buy a t-shirt from anywhere, and that's the difference maker. So yeah, now let me just summarize everything, because I think I've rushed across. I hope that what I've been saying has been making sense. So the summary, I spoke about geography, operating from different countries, and that implication on production and logistics. How do you produce the same product in 3 different countries? Do you produce it in 3 different countries? What are the costs? How do you move your product around? How do you move money around? How do you create your brand? How are you going to position it? Is it going to be mass market? Is it going to be niche? And What's the implication on quality or your quality assurance or quality control systems or processes? And what are the opportunities where you want to expand? These are just some of the things which I wanted to touch on in this video. So there's a lot to think about. That's what we are currently facing as Swan. We're trying to optimize being in different locations. We're trying to see the best opportunities. We're trying to identify the challenges so that we can come up with the right solutions and ultimately to create a brand for Africa. Because let me ask you this whilst I end. Name one brand that is founded in Africa which is as ubiquitous or as widely known as a brand like Nike is known in America or Europe. In Europe, everyone knows about Armani, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Nike, Adi, Puma, Hugo Boss. I could go on and on. In Africa, which brand does that? There's a video, there's this guy, I think his name is Tebe Ikalafeng. He did a video with Trevor Ncube some months ago. And it was an interesting stat. I think, was it 83% was the number? 83% of the top 100 brands in Africa are made outside of Africa. Now, that was an interesting statistic. And why was it interesting for me? So many people want to start a technology company these days. But I feel like these statistics clearly show us that there is a problem, that there's not enough production taking place locally. Now, if I can solve that problem of creating African brands for Africans here in Africa, I feel like that solves the problem of modern day colonization. The desire for brands made in Paris but not made in Harare. That's the problem we're trying to solve, which is as big a problem that technology is also trying to solve, but it's just different. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know how long this video has been. I've just been speaking, but this has been the Swan Journal. These are a few points that I wanted to cover. I've told you what it is, why I wanted to do it, and I've walked you through it. And so I don't know if this will be a weekly thing, a bi-weekly thing, monthly or whatever, but the purpose is to share our experiences as a business with you, the audience, so that for those who want to start a business, you may find some insights, so that when the business is big, we can see that it's like a real-time documentary and just sharing what I'm passionate about. So I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please do leave a like on this video. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll put a link to my other social media platforms, or I'll just display the names at the end of this video. But that's been it. My name is Mtulisi Inasio Kumbula. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow actually for the Sunday Sundowners. Thank you, and I hope you have a great weekend. Cheers.